I'm Kevin.
I'm Gwilym. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, so recently, just last week, we released an ORM called BackboneORM. And yes, it's yet another ORM.
Yeah, it is yet another ORM, but it is also kind of cool for different reasons. So we'll tell you a bit about that today. Hopefully you'll agree. That should be sweet.
Okay, so why would we do this? Node has like a bazillion of them.
Yes, Node has like a bazillion ORMs. They all have different APIs. And on the client, there's also a ton of ways to work with your data and model it. So here's some examples. Pulling data out of SQLize with Node. Doing the same with Mongoose. And Backbone Relational on the client. It's like yet another way to model your data. So we figure there's something missing here.
Yeah, so basically you've got all of these ORMs in Node on the server, and you've got all of these great MVC and MVVM frameworks on the client, and they need to talk to one another. And so what goes between?
Yeah, so there's this JavaScript everywhere promise, where you can write the same code once, run it on your client, run it on your server, and everything is happy and everyone just like holds hands, has a great time. But without a consistent API, that makes it really hard. You can write functionality, but you can't actually do your data modeling.
So what we did was we simplified. We said BackboneORM will make it the same on the client and the server, irregardless of what your backend story is. So for example, here you see on the server, what we have is a backbone model project, which basically has a backend store in MongoDB. You've got a sink, the standard backbone sink, and you can find on it. You've got a query syntax, and this is on the server. Now let's take a look at what it looks like on the client. It's basically the same thing.
Whoa, whoa. That's it, guys. Presentation's over. Yeah, so, by the way, it's CoffeeScript, so don't hate us too much. There may be more CoffeeScript to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so once we decided that we wanted to do this, we wanted a consistent API across the server and client. We had to bite the bullet and say, well, what exactly are we going to do?
Yeah, so we looked at other libraries and other ORMs and various things out there. We looked at the best parts of those and we stole whatever we could. So our query syntax comes directly from Mongo because it's just designed for JavaScript, works really well in JavaScript, and it even works well in CoffeeScript.
Great, okay. And of course, one of our design goals was that we needed to be compatible with BackboneJS. But we wanted to have relationships, because that's one of the shortcomings of it. We use knockback, and that was very important for us, so that we could basically reuse our existing code without changing anything. And so this is what it looks like. Backbone with relationships. So you can see here that we have a task, and we've introduced this new part called schema, where you can basically just name what the attributes are called, and the other belongs to. And then here with the project, you've got task and task mini. So basically, project is named tasks, and task belongs to projects, and it just works. You may notice that there's a little bit of this function we call here. What that is actually in a lot of the ORMs, there's a problem with circular dependencies. So what you can do is by just using a function, when it's actually resolved lazily. So you don't have to have some crazy hoop jumping to deal with relationships where things are referencing one another. It just kind of works. It's pretty concise.
Yeah. So back to stealing things. The lazy evaluation from like Django-style query sets or Rails active record. Obviously, we wanted to build that in because we like sugar. Everybody likes sugar. Let's make it a bit easier on ourselves.
Okay. And then another design goal that we had was a trivial REST API generation, because you don't want to be spending a lot of time writing REST controllers and having special purpose code, especially when you're doing a JSON API server. So basically, here's the same project model from before, and here's the REST controller. All you do is say, what's the type of model, and here's the route, which serves you the JSON back. Of course, this is a very simplified example because you would want to have a secure REST endpoint, and there's room for that here as well. Basically, we use the express middleware pattern to allow you to add authorization to your REST controllers. Also, one thing that's pretty cool that we as well borrowed from somewhere else was the idea about having a way to define a JSON DSL so that you don't have to be writing a lot of lookups to customize the JSON. So here's a more advanced example of a controller. What you can see is it's got the same start here. So you've got the project, the route, and then you've got some templates. So if you were to query this, you would use the default template show, and it would just basically return the ID and name. If you called it from the client and said, actually, I want a different template with $template, show with tasks, it would also include the tasks. You're using the same query syntax that we've extended for MongoDB to just say what you're going to send back, and it's done.
Yeah. So next up, we've got a little example of the node-style callbacks. Obviously, like a straight-up backbone, everything is, when you're retrieving stuff, it's going to be synchronous. I can't really do that if you need to load relations from the database. So in this instance, we like go, hey, let's grab us a project, and we'll grab its tasks. If that's a relation, we'll just load it asynchronously, use the node-style callbacks, and off we go. So it also unifies Backbone's like a really kind of icky callback style to use nodes. So we like that.
And the great thing here is that actually, if the tasks are already loaded, you can just use the normal synchronous get tasks from Backbone that you're completely familiar with.
Yeah, so that's an example of that consistent API that we're looking for across client and server. It's just great.
And we didn't stop there. And we also did a few other things, just why not? Okay.
Yes, okay. With REST controller, you can specify your queries and anything you want to do with it straight onto the URL. That'll get formatted into that Mongo query syntax. You've probably seen the same thing with Mongo Couch. Yeah, perform the query, return your data, just super simple. It's great.
All on the URL. Yeah. Cool. And then also we provide a raw JSON interface. If you need performance, you don't want to really care about models, you can just kind of get the JSON. If you don't care about relationships, you can skip that as well, and you just go straight for the JSON from SQL variants, MongoDB, and then in-memory store.
Yes, and if you ever wanted to stream from your database one row at a time, we support Node.js streams to do that. I think it's a solution in search of a problem, but we'll see what we can do there.
Yep. And then one thing that's pretty cool is that you can iterate through a server database on the client. So if you want, you can, there's a few different APIs we've added. There's each, interval, and the stream API, which is search for a problem, yes. And so basically what you do here is we'll fetch in batches from the server, and then you process them on the client. So you can just say, like, give me 1,000 at a time, let's just look at the old database. And each time one gets sent to you, you just process it. And interval, basically what it does is it allows you to do MapReduce on time intervals if you want to do some reporting. So. Yeah,
so that syntax will be, if anyone's used the async library in Node, that's same thing, same idea. Yeah. Oh yes, and of course you can do relationships with MongoDB now. Because we're doing the mappings anyway, because we want to support SQL, just pop it over to Mongo, whatever else we want to use. That's great.
And it came for free. Okay, cool. So the results. As you can imagine, ORMs are a little bit harder than they look.
Yeah, so we are happy campus. We can seamlessly transition between developing for the browser or for Node. It's great. We can take advantage of all the ecosystems surrounding Backbone, because there's a lot of them on the client, and we can just use whatever we like there. We can mix and match databases to choose the best tool for the job. So we've actually got a set of MongoDBs at our work, and we've got a couple of SQL databases. We just choose whatever's best for our data, and we don't need to worry about how we're accessing them. And we basically put our focus on solving the problems and not memorizing various different APIs.
Yeah, and we're tired campers. It was a lot of work. Basically, I wrote an initial version with MongoDB about 9 months ago, and I thought it was about halfway. Maybe it was a quarter of the way, or 10th of the way. So it was a lot of work. We spent a lot of time having to kind of understand why the decisions have been made in various ORMs, and deal with tricky things like what do you do if you add something to a relationship and the relationship isn't yet loaded? Do you merge it in? Do you overwrite it? Those type of edge cases. We're tired, but we've got a solution there.
Yeah, it turns out there's like a whole bunch of edge cases with ORMs. Like, who would have thought? Yeah, so we're thankful to everything that we built off of to be able to make this. Obviously, Backbone, Mongo, and Couch are obvious ones. Rails and Django are very much an inspiration. Connects, if anyone hasn't heard of that, that is the best SQL generator I've seen written in Node, and the author's a pretty cool dude. He helped us out a bit. Yeah, just wanted to pop that on there because they're nice.
And we're open sourcing campers. So basically we've open sourced this. So you can see there's 5 modules. BackboneORM is the base library, which also gives you an in-memory sync and basically defines the query syntax. We've also released a REST controller, like you saw earlier, that just basically, with almost no code, just allows you to make these RESTful endpoints that supports all the RESTful verbs. HTML interface to basically consume that, and then we're supporting MongoDB storage, Postgres, MySQL, and SQLite.
Yeah, so we're going to have a look at a little demo now. Kevin's just going to throw us together an app almost from scratch. We've got a little bit of boilerplate because that'd be too much typing.
Yeah, so may the demo gods be with us.
Oh yeah, maybe the demo gods be with us.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let me just start here. So basically what you can see here is that I've got a little bit of boilerplate code here. So I've created an Express server, which basically hosts a static file, prints out hello BackboneORM, and basically I've created a little bit of boilerplate here where you can kind of see that I've included the app.js and Bootstrap styling. And so basically what we're going to do here is just compile this coffee script to JavaScript, and we'll watch it with NodeMon, and whenever the code changes, we'll reload it. So let me just see if this will work. Okay, so watching the coffee script, watching it for changes, and what you can see is that it's printed out hello BackboneORM, which means it's running on the server. And then here, I'll try and run it on the client. For now, you'll just see something in the console log.
Whoa, look at that.
Yeah. Same code, client and server. I'll just show here.
Yeah, so it's, we're just using the same file here, running on both the client and server. So, let's go.
Okay, so now let's start. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll get it working on the server, and let's use my typing. We'll see how that works. Okay.
Yep, so first thing we're going to do is obviously a couple of required statements. We're going to grab Backbone, we're going to grab BackboneORM. No, we'll get that later, don't worry. We're going to grab async because we're going to use that to pre-populate our store. Our store in this case is just going to be memory to start with, so we're just going to use a memory backend, which is nothing at all. We're defining our model again. We're going to set the null root. So we use this as a unique identifier for the models. And also we use it to we are later going to specify how to connect to the database through that property as well. And then this is kind of where the magic happens. The way we hook into Backbone is by specifying a special sync method. In this case, we're going to grab BackboneORM. It was up there before.
That's right, 1 sec.
And we're just going to instantiate a sync, giving it the project class that we have also just created. The reason that this looks kind of funky, if you're not all that familiar with CoffeeScript, is when this compiles to JavaScript, it'll look something like function prototype, function project prototype.property, blah, blah, blah. And one of those lines will be project.prototype.sync equals our sync method. So
got that?
That makes sense, right? Yes.
Okay, and here what we basically are doing is we're bootstrapping them. So we're using a finder create method. So basically we're just populating the memory store. We're using async to basically iterate over an array with this bootstrap. And then once we've actually found or created the models, we're going to actually start having some fun here and finding them. So if this is working on the, oh, oops.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's how it is.
So those guys of the demo are really with us, not right now. But
Capital model. Sorry? Backbone.com. Oh, there we go. Well spotted.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Well, that would have been embarrassing.
Okay, cool. So now what you can see here is that we've got all of these models. You can see it right away. So we can start playing around with the query syntax. So basically I did a simple find. And what we can do here is we can say, how about we limit it to 5? And then when it reloads, we got 5.
Hey,
okay. And then you can play around with the query syntax here, and you can do something like sort. Let's sort it by, say, reverse name.
Thanks also to Sublime, providing us with a... Yeah.
So here you can see that it's in reverse order. Yeah. Okay. So next, let's get it working on the client. Okay. So on the client, what we have to do is we have to basically package up the code, BackboneORM, HTTP, and Backbone. We're using Browserify here, but you can just include the files independently if you want. We also support AMD style loading. So I'm just using one bundle just to keep things simple. So create the client bundle.
Yeah, so basically, whichever requires solution or not you're using on the client, we support that. Just from wrapping it up, especially when we package it.
Okay, and let's refresh. Okay, there we go.
Hey, it's in the console. So that's the same code doing the same thing, but one's in Node, one's on the client. Not too exciting so far because we haven't actually done anything that you can't do on both the client and the server. So we're going to start splitting things up a little bit with the next step. We're going to generate ourselves a set of REST endpoints on our server, and then we're going to start consuming those with another module, Backbone HTTP, which will function as our data retriever on the client. So yeah, we're just setting up the REST controller here. The idea is very simple. All you need to give it is an express app, a model type, and a route you want it to bind to. So now that that's up and running, we can close this down and start querying it on the URL. So that's our standard, like bog standard REST API that comes out in 2 lines of code. It's kind of handy.
Sorry?
Root. It's just the S.
Roots.
Right. Oh,
No, it's no way around like project singular.
Oh, thank you for right on. Okay, well spotted again. Okay, cool.
Now we can do it. There we go. Okay, so
Okay.
quick and easy to get up and running with something very simple in terms of REST endpoints. It's also very extensible. We're not going to go through all of that now, but pretty much anything you want to do is possible. And so anything we have wanted to do so far is possible.
Okay. So what you can see is it's the same sort of query syntax that you saw when we passed the find. So here I've added sort and reverse name, and here it is in the browser. You can even do some interesting things like just pull out specific values. So you can pull out just an array of names, or you can do something like this, where you can grab name and index. Yes. So this thing's pretty good if you want to just do some graphing on your client and you just want to say, give me an array of arrays of this data. Boom, it's right there. Okay, so now I'll try and get this working on the client, consuming HTTP.
Yeah. So as I started to say earlier, we're going to add another type of sync to our project. So the sync that we use on the client is Backbone HTTP, which basically says, do the same thing that we're doing on the server, except instead of going to memory as we were before, or to Mongo, whatever we want to. So, HTTP.
Yes, thank you.
Correcting me. Yeah, so that's going to be doing our requests over HTTP.
Client check is missing the nod.
What's that?
Client check. If not Windows.
Okay, sorry. Very good. Spotted. Okay. Live demo.
Thanks,
okay,
guys.
thank you.
This would be terrible without you.
Thanks. Okay, so basically you can see here, what we've done is we've consumed this JSON from the server. So if you refresh here, you can kind of see that we just put it across. It's querying the database, and you can use the same sort of thing. So here I've got limit 5, limit 3, sort negative name, etc., all on the client.
Yeah, so look at that request.
Yeah, here we go. Request.
Yeah, so yeah, it's generating the same query, it's just performing it, and because the API is the same across everywhere, very straightforward to run those queries from the client, from the server. Here's the next step. We'll just ditch that memory sync, and we'll give it a MongoDB address instead. So we change the type sync to Mongo. Basically, that means our sync method is going to connect to Mongo instead of just an object in memory. And we can load it up again, and
See what's going on here. Yeah, so now it's connected to Mongo. It's got the projects, printing them out. And let's go refresh.
Yeah, there we go. So now we're talking to Mongo.
Yeah, so you can kind of see here that in the URL, now we're basically getting it from Mongo. One thing that we also added was a CouchDB-like revision to Mongo, so it's easy to check for conflicts. And here it is. It's now using Mongo. Okay, and so let's do the final step here, which is basically just...
Yeah, so next step is just going to be, we use Knockback, which Kevin also put together. It's like a backbone and knockout combination. It's really great. So we've got a bunch of pre-written code here. We're just going to use that to give you a quick example of how you can hook this into like another framework to actually do something with the data once it's on the client.
Okay, so basically a knockback, you can use it similar to Angular with injection. So you can kind of see here that it's basically just injecting this view model, basically creating a table. You can see for each of the projects, it's just going to iterate through them. We're going to have an input field that you can edit. You can see the index, and then you can just save the model. So something really simple and basic. And this was a bit too much to type, so I just kind of copy and paste it in here. So you can just see require knockback. I was basically making globally available, creating a new observable over that collection, and then when the query comes back, rather than typing it to the console like I'm doing up here, basically what I'm going to do, oops, sorry, demo, yes, okay. So rather than typing it to the console, I'm just going to basically go like that. Yeah, there we go. And let's refresh. So projects. Here we go. So basically what you can see is that we've got basically an interface. We can change things around, save it. When we refresh, it loads it up, save, and that's all using, as you'd expect, your nice RESTful calls. So you can see here that it just did a put with this data and came back with the new project. So that's it.
That's it.